Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in life when you realize that no amount of pleading, explaining, or bending over backward will make someone recognize your value, and that's okay. The truth is, sometimes people only see what they had after it's gone. It's not about punishment. It's not about making someone regret their choices. It's about showing up for yourself fully, unapologetically, and creating a life that doesn't depend on someone else's approval. Because when you step away, you give them something invaluable, a chance to see, to reflect, to realize what they lost. And here's the secret. Leaving doesn't diminish you, it elevates you. It proves that your happiness isn't negotiable. Your peace isn't a bargaining chip. And your worth isn't invisible. It's unmistakable, even if it takes someone else a little while to notice. When you walk away with grace, confidence, and love for yourself, you create a space where clarity can finally take root. And that's when the realization hits. That's when they understand the weight of what they let go. Understanding your own self-worth is the cornerstone of every healthy relationship, every meaningful connection, and every fulfilled life. Too often, we measure our value through the eyes of others, seeking approval, validation, or recognition from people who may not even be capable of giving it. The truth is, your worth is not determined by someone else's ability to see it. It's defined by how you honor yourself, how you treat yourself, and how you refuse to settle for less than you deserve. When you truly understand your value, you stop compromising on your happiness, your peace, and your emotional health. You recognize the subtle ways people might take advantage of your kindness or patience, and you learn to set boundaries, not out of anger, but out of respect for yourself. Self-worth is not about arrogance or believing you are better than anyone else. It's about knowing that your time, your energy, and your love are precious, and that they are not meant to be wasted on someone who cannot appreciate them. When you start to internalize this, you begin to notice patterns in the way people treat you. You see when someone's attention is inconsistent, when their care is conditional, and when their interest is fleeting. Instead of trying to convince them to behave differently, you understand that the only person who must recognize your value is you. This awareness brings a sense of freedom and empowerment because it removes the pressure to earn affection or fight for respect. You stop chasing and start evaluating, choosing interactions that nurture you and walking away from those that drain you. Every time you honor your own worth, you send a powerful message to the world that your heart, your mind, and your presence are not commodities to be taken for granted, and that your love has standards. It's about learning to celebrate yourself, to acknowledge your strengths, to forgive your weaknesses, and to accept that you are enough just as you are. And when you embrace this mindset, your relationships begin to transform. People are drawn to your confidence and clarity because it radiates authenticity. You no longer settle for someone who doesn't see your value. Instead, you naturally attract people who recognize it immediately. Self-worth also teaches resilience. It equips you to face rejection or indifference without internalizing it as a reflection of your character. You stop blaming yourself, stop overanalyzing every word or action, and start trusting your instincts. You realize that it's not about fixing or changing anyone else. It's about showing up fully for yourself and letting your standards guide your choices. The more you invest in understanding and believing in your own worth, the less likely you are to tolerate behaviors that undermine it. You develop a quiet strength that doesn't need constant validation, a confidence that isn't dependent on external praise, and a peace that comes from knowing you are enough. This self-awareness becomes magnetic, not in a superficial way, but in a deeply authentic way that communicates to others that you value yourself and, by extension, you value the connections you allow into your life. It becomes clear that your happiness is not negotiable and your love is not disposable. And once you internalize that, every choice you make becomes a reflection of that truth. The power of absence is one of the most underestimated forces in human relationships, yet it has the ability to reveal truths that words often cannot. When you are constantly present, always giving, always available, it can be easy for others to take your presence for granted, assuming that you will always be there, no matter how you are treated. But absence changes the dynamics entirely. When you step back, even for a short time, it creates a space for reflection, both for you and for the other person. Suddenly, they are confronted with the reality of what your presence actually meant. They notice the warmth, the laughter, the support, and the little things that once seemed ordinary because they were so familiar. In your absence, they see the void that has been left behind, and that realization can be profound. The power of absence is not about playing games or manipulating someone's emotions. It's about allowing the natural consequences of their actions to surface. It's about stepping into your own life fully, focusing on your goals, your happiness, and your growth, rather than bending over backward to remind someone else of your worth. When you remove yourself, you give clarity to the situation, and clarity is a force that can cut through confusion, excuses, and denial. People rarely understand what they have until it's gone, and that is a reality you can use, not to punish, but to awaken. The beauty of absence is that it teaches patience, both with yourself and with others. It allows you to observe without interference, to witness patterns without distortion, and to understand the true value of your contributions to someone's life. When you constantly push, constantly explain, or constantly give, you are often clouding the picture. Stepping away removes the noise, giving both parties a chance to see things as they really are. Absence also builds respect, your own and theirs. By choosing not to overextend yourself or compromise your standards, you demonstrate that you are someone who values themselves and their time. This sends a message without a single word that your love, your attention, and your presence are not automatic. They are privileges that deserve recognition and care. There is also a subtle empowerment in absence. It allows you to focus inward, to grow stronger, to rediscover your passions, and to build the life that you deserve independently of anyone else. The more fulfilled and grounded you become in your own life, the more undeniable your presence becomes when it returns. And when someone finally notices, it is not because you demanded attention, but because you allowed them the space to see clearly. The power of absence lies in its dual nature. It is both a gift and a test. A gift because it gives clarity and perspective, and a test because it challenges others to recognize and appreciate what they had while it was present. It is a reminder that relationships are not static, that love is not guaranteed, and that the most important person in the equation is always yourself. When applied with self-respect and emotional intelligence, absence becomes a transformative tool that shapes interactions, deepens understanding, and ultimately fosters growth for everyone involved. Emotional independence is the foundation of a life that is both fulfilling and resilient. So often, people tie their happiness to the actions, approval, or presence of someone else, believing that love, validation, or attention are the only things that can fill the gaps inside. But the truth is, when you rely on others to regulate your emotions, you give away your power, and you leave your peace in the hands of people who may not value it. Emotional independence is not about shutting people out or becoming distant. It's about cultivating a deep, unwavering sense of security within yourself, one that cannot be shaken by another person's behavior. When you are emotionally independent, you no longer chase after fleeting attention or beg for reassurance. You no longer make excuses for someone else's inconsistency or let their moods dictate the quality of your day. Instead, you develop an internal compass that guides your feelings and choices. This doesn't happen overnight. It is built through self-reflection, self-awareness, and a commitment to understanding your emotional patterns. You begin to recognize triggers, to differentiate between what belongs to you and what belongs to someone else, and to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Emotional independence allows you to love without fear, to give without expecting something in return, and to care without losing yourself in the process. When you become the source of your own happiness, you stop using relationships as a way to fill voids, and you start engaging with people from a place of fullness. This creates a shift in dynamics because when you are no longer dependent, your presence becomes a choice rather than a need. People are drawn to your confidence, your calm, and your ability to navigate life with grace. They notice that you are whole on your own, which makes the love and connection you offer infinitely more valuable. Emotional independence also teaches boundaries naturally. When you are grounded in yourself, you can clearly see what you will tolerate and what you will not. You are able to step away from negativity, dishonesty, or disrespect without guilt, because you understand that your energy is precious and finite. You don't compromise your peace for temporary approval or superficial comfort. This independence doesn't make you cold or unfeeling. It makes you intentional. Every word, every gesture, and every choice becomes deliberate because it comes from a place of clarity rather than desperation. The beauty of emotional independence is that it transforms every aspect of your life. You start to attract healthier relationships because people sense your inner stability and respect your emotional boundaries. You gain confidence in your decision-making because you trust yourself more than you rely on others. And you find a deeper sense of fulfillment because your happiness is no longer dependent on someone else showing up. It comes from within, steadily and consistently. Emotional independence is the ultimate form of self-respect. It teaches you that no one has the power to make you feel less than, unworthy, or incomplete unless you allow them to. It shows you that your emotions are yours to own, guide, and protect. And when you embrace this fully, you move through life with a sense of freedom, clarity, and strength that is magnetic, irresistible, and undeniable, leaving everyone around you to recognize that your value was never defined by anyone else. Timing and impact are two forces that, when understood and applied correctly, can completely transform the way people perceive you and the way relationships unfold. Too often, we rush into decisions, conversations, or actions because we are impatient or anxious for validation, for answers, or for change. We try to force recognition, force feelings, or force appreciation, believing that if we act immediately, the outcome will reflect the effort we put in. But the truth is, timing is everything. When you learn to pause, to step back, and to allow situations to unfold naturally, you gain a perspective that is impossible to achieve in haste. People rarely realize the significance of your presence in the moment. They need time, distance, and clarity to truly understand what they have, what they've lost, and what your contribution meant to their life. By being intentional with timing, you create impact not through words or demands, but through actions and the deliberate choice to show up or step away when the moment truly matters. This is the difference between someone noticing your value immediately versus someone realizing it only after they have experienced absence. Timing amplifies your presence because it adds weight to your choices. When you act too soon, your intentions can be diluted, your value taken for granted, or your impact overlooked. But when you wait for the right moment, every move you make carries authority, significance, and clarity. People are more receptive when they are ready to receive, and your patience ensures that your presence is felt fully, rather than partially ignored. Understanding timing also requires emotional intelligence. It's about recognizing the state of the other person, the dynamics at play, and the natural rhythm of events around you. It is not passive waiting, it is strategic and conscious observation. You learn when to speak, when to act, and when to step back, knowing that the impact of your actions is magnified by the alignment of circumstances. The right timing can turn ordinary gestures into profound statements, fleeting moments into lasting impressions, and quiet exits into life-changing realizations. It's a skill that demonstrates maturity, self-respect, and an understanding of the way human perception works. When you master timing, you stop chasing validation because you know that the recognition, respect, and understanding will arrive in its own moment. You also create a natural balance of power in relationships. Rather than being driven by the fear of losing someone or the desperation to be appreciated, you are guided by strategy, clarity, and a commitment to your own standards. Impact, in turn, is the result of this timing. The way you show up, the way you leave, the way you speak, and the way you carry yourself all leave an impression. Impact is not about drama or manipulation. It is about the quiet authority that comes from living in alignment with your values, showing up fully when it matters, and choosing your moments with care. When you combine timing and impact, you create a presence that is unforgettable. People do not need constant reminders of your worth because your actions, deliberate and well-placed, speak louder than words ever could. Every pause, every absence, every calculated return becomes a testament to your self-respect, your patience, and your understanding of human nature. Timing and impact together ensure that your value is recognized not through force, but through clarity, inevitability, and the natural unfolding of life around you. Empowerment through choice is one of the most transformative realizations a person can experience in their life. So often, people feel trapped in situations, relationships, or patterns, believing that they have no control over the outcomes or that their happiness is dictated by someone else's decisions. But the truth is that every single moment offers an opportunity to exercise power, not by controlling others, but by controlling your own response, your own boundaries, and your own actions. Choosing to walk away, choosing to stay, choosing to set limits, or choosing to prioritize yourself is not selfish, it is a declaration of self-respect. Empowerment through choice is about understanding that no matter how complicated a situation may seem, you always have the ability to decide how you engage with it. It is the recognition that your life is yours to design, that your energy is yours to protect, and that your peace is not negotiable. When you embrace this mindset, you begin to notice a shift in the way people respond to you. Suddenly, the dynamics change because your presence is no longer automatic, and your attention is no longer taken for granted. Making choices from a place of strength rather than fear sends an unspoken message that your happiness and self-worth are non-negotiable. The empowerment comes not from seeking revenge or trying to prove a point, but from the quiet confidence of knowing that you have options and that you are capable of walking away if your needs, values, or dignity are not being honored. Every choice you make in alignment with your worth reinforces the boundaries you've set and the standards you refuse to compromise. This creates a ripple effect, both internally and externally. Internally, you build confidence, self-trust, and resilience. You no longer doubt your instincts or question your right to demand respect. Externally, others recognize the shift immediately. They sense that you are no longer available at their convenience, and that your love and attention are privileges, not entitlements. Empowerment through choice also teaches accountability. It reminds you that while you cannot control others' actions, you can always control how you respond. You can choose grace, detachment, or decisive action. You can choose to invest your time and energy in people who uplift you rather than drain you. You can choose to prioritize long-term growth over short-term satisfaction. This awareness creates a profound sense of freedom because it removes the illusion of dependence. You are no longer at the mercy of someone else's recognition, affection, or approval because your value does not fluctuate based on their behavior. Every choice becomes an exercise of power, an act of self-respect, and a step toward the life you deserve. The beauty of empowerment through choice is that it is not conditional. It does not rely on circumstances or external validation. It is rooted in your ability to take control of your decisions, to set your own standards, and to live intentionally. When you exercise this kind of empowerment consistently, it transforms relationships, opportunities, and experiences. People begin to respond differently, not because you demand it, but because you have created a presence of self-assuredness and intentionality that commands respect naturally. Ultimately, empowerment through choice is the recognition that your life is not a series of reactions to others. It is a series of deliberate actions guided by your values, your worth, and your vision for yourself. It is the most authentic form of influence because it arises not from manipulation, but from clarity, integrity, and the unwavering commitment to honor yourself above all else. So, the truth is this: your value is not determined by anyone else's recognition, and your happiness is not dependent on someone choosing to appreciate it. Every step you take toward honoring yourself, every boundary you set, every moment you walk away with grace, is a statement of your worth. When you embrace your power, your timing, your independence, and your choices, you create a presence that cannot be ignored. And in that presence lies freedom, strength, and clarity, because the most important person who must recognize your value is always you. Never forget that walking away is not losing, stepping back is not surrendering, and absence is not emptiness. It is the truest expression of self, respect, and the catalyst for realizing the impact you have on the world around you. Thank you.